Hi y'all, this is Brandy, and I wanted to share some information with y'all about our language objectives. I know that we've seen parts of this presentation before, but this is just a quick refresher after the walkthroughs or learning walks that the ELL task force did during December. These are our content and language objectives for the session. However, I'm not going to read them like I usually would because we like to model how to present them. But in the classroom, you would read them with your class. And when I say with your class, it would be good for them to actually read it with you. So like a choral reading of the content and language objectives. And what I also wanted to show you here is that this is a good time to teach your students some new vocabulary. And in this language objective, there wasn't a lot of tough vocabulary, but I showed how you can circle some words, some key words, and you can add an icon. So if you had a beginning student in your classroom and looking at that language objective, maybe they don't know the word listen, and that would be really, really possible if they're a beginner. So you could draw a little ear so that they know that they're supposed to be listening. And then they're going to be writing or taking notes. So that's what we chose to do there. You can draw a little picture icon to help your students, or you can write out to the side a word or a phrase that will help them to understand words in the objectives. The reasons that we write objectives are to set expectations for learning, keep the teaching and learning on track, and to review and make sure that we met our objective. And basically, what this could say on this slide is to use at the beginning, middle, and end of a lesson. Because at the beginning of the lesson, you're reading it with your students chorally and having them talk about it, and some of them maybe share back to you what they're going to learn. And then during the middle, they can refer to it. You can refer to it just to make sure that all the learning is on track. So during, for instance, the reader's workshop, you can go in and during that intentional interruption between reading groups, you can refer back to your objective to make sure that the students are staying on track. And then at the end, you review it to make sure that everybody has solid in their mind what they had just learned. So what is the difference between a content and language objective? The content objective is always the what the students are going to be learning. So that is going to be basically your TEK. And there's been some back and forth on using the TEK verbiage in your content objective, and you don't have to use all of the verbiage, but it would be good to make sure that you use enough academic vocabulary in there so that you're growing their word bank in their minds. And then the language objective is how the students are going to be demonstrating their learning using one of the language domains, listening, speaking, reading, or writing. A little pointer here, we say listening, speaking, reading, or writing. But if we really want to make writing our language objectives a little bit simpler, if we focus on speaking and writing, we will be doing a really good job. Because we know that the kids are listening in class. They're listening to us read stories, they're listening to videos, they're listening to each other talk. They're listening. And we also know that they're going to be reading. But if we focus on speaking and writing, I think that that is where we will get more bang for our buck, because we will be making sure that kids are using language in the classroom and not just receiving it. So they're actually producing language. These are the features of objectives. They both have an I can or I will or we will or you can or whatever that might be. I think that the best one is I will or we will. And that's just because it sounds more definitive. If you say I can, it's kind of like, yeah, I can learn how to subtract two-digit numbers. But if I say I will learn how to subtract two-digit numbers, that sounds more like I'm going to do it. Like I can lose weight, and if I say I will lose weight, then I might put forth a little bit more effort. The what is your TEK for your content objective or your student expectations. And again, you don't have to write the whole long thing in there. And then the language objective what part is going to just be a verb. You know, we have sentence stems and things like that out there. You don't have to use them. They're good tools as long as you're putting a language verb in there. And we'll look at that in a few minutes. How is the academic task for a content objective, and for your language objective, it includes the specific words, phrases, and sentence stems that you're going to use. And we can look at that in a second. So when you're writing your interactive language objective, first you have to have your content objective, and this is important because your content and language objective should be aligned. You want to start with I can or I will, and we said we really prefer I will. And then you can decide on which domain you are going to focus on. And we have 5 with the learning strategies. But if we really want to make sure that the students are using our new vocabulary that we're teaching in the classrooms, speaking and writing is where you can get more bang for your buck. And then you can pick out new vocabulary terms, and we've included some stems that you might want to use there. And I'm going to share those in the classroom with you guys as an attachment. These are the features, and this is just a different way to look at that table. It's just showing you how it's aligned. You don't have to use this template. This template is there strictly for support. If you feel like you don't need this, then you don't have to use it. It's just a good guide. So these are some sample objectives, and it's to show the alignment again with the colors. And the language objective on this one is I can describe to my partner, right? Using the sentence stem from my perspective, Native Americans blank. Something important to notice here is the words perspective and Native Americans. Your students might not naturally say from my perspective, but what we're trying to do with the language objectives is we are really trying to make sure that our students are stretching their limits with vocabulary. We really need them to grow the vocabulary. And here's another sample. I don't know why this is moving. That includes a word bank. So we want them to orally explain in this objective, and we want them to use these words. And these are words that we have decided are very good for them. A place to find words that are aligned to a TEK would be in Lead Forward under the vocabulary docs, because it has the academic vocabulary, and the ones that have asterisks on them, I believe, are the ones that are actually utilized on STAR tests. And I think that that's part of the problem that our ELL kids have with passing STAR, is that they're exposed to questions or question stems that use vocabulary that they're not used to. So that would be a good document to refer to. And then here is the last one. Again, it's describing and using a sentence stem. And this is a simple sentence stem, so an intermediate student could use it. If you wanted to make it more complex, you could add in more words or just leave it open-ended, and then they would have to complete the sentence. Here are some ways that they are displayed in classrooms. These are actual pictures. And I wanted to share those with you. And this is on 13. This is a great video. And I would like you to be able to watch it in its entirety. I cannot put it on the Screencastify because it will make it too long. But it really shows how the teacher is utilizing her language objectives in the classroom. So I'm going to also include this in the assignment. The key word that you're going to need for this is instructional, and that will be a question on the form. So at the end of a lesson, which this was our lesson about language objectives, we would go over this again, and we would talk as a class and make sure that we met our goal, that we actually learned how to write effective content objectives by looking at examples and creating our own. And I know we haven't created our own yet, but that's going to be part of your assignment. If you guys have any questions about language objectives, please ask. That's what I'm there for. And it makes everybody grow, because I grow by teaching and you grow by learning, and then you grow by teaching it to another partner on your team. So never feel embarrassed to ask a question. And that is all. There are some assignments in the classroom, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon.